I never thought washing my car on a Saturday afternoon would lead to what happened next. I never thought washing my car on a Saturday afternoon would lead to what happened next. But that's exactly what started when Christine Devereaux, our HOA president, decided to send fake cops to tow my Jeep in the middle of the night, all so her daughter could use it. She thought it was just an old car belonging to some nobody biologist she could push around. She had no idea that Jeep had one small detail she'd overlooked, a detail that would turn this from an HOA dispute into something far bigger. She never expected the people in fake uniforms would leave a trail, and she certainly never expected I'd be ready, with cameras recording, tracking systems active, and evidence of a scheme much bigger than just one vehicle. Let me take you back to the beginning. To that Saturday afternoon when Christine walked up and everything started to unravel. I was spraying soap foam across the hood of my forest green Jeep Wrangler when I heard the sharp click of heels on asphalt behind me. It was 3:15 p.m. on a Saturday in late February, one of those cold Colorado days where the sun's out but the air still cuts through your jacket. I'd just returned from a week in the field monitoring elk migration patterns, and the Jeep was covered in dried mud. The footsteps stopped about 6 feet behind me. I pulled out one earbud and turned around. Christine Devereaux stood at the edge of my driveway with a white clipboard pressed against her chest. Her blonde hair was teased into that suburban helmet style, her navy blazer crisp and pressed. She was 51 and never let anyone forget it. Behind her, the rows of identical beige houses stretched down Maple Drive. Everything in Oak Ridge Estates looked the same. Everything except my Jeep, apparently. "Mr. Wells," she said, pleasant on the surface but razor-sharp underneath. "That vehicle violates HOA guidelines on acceptable vehicle colors. The bylaws are subject to board interpretation, and this particular shade is inappropriate." I looked at the Jeep, then back at her. She didn't even notice the faded Bureau of Land Management seal on the driver's door, barely visible under the sun-bleached paint, just 3 inches across after 4 years of Colorado sun. "It's parked on a public street," I said evenly, "not an HOA road." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'm the board president, Mr. Wells. I determine what's appropriate for this community." I'd lived here 18 months, long enough to understand how Christine operated. She didn't let things go. She didn't like being contradicted. "My daughter is coming home this weekend. She shouldn't have to navigate around your vehicle." There it was. Madison Devereaux, 21 years old, an Instagram influencer with a white Mercedes that her mother bought her. Every time Madison visited, Christine cleared parking spaces near their house. Christine made a sharp note on her clipboard. 48 hours to remove this vehicle, or it will be towed at the owner's expense." She turned and walked back toward her house. I stood there, hose dripping, watching her go. I'm a wildlife compliance officer on contract with the Bureau of Land Management. I've spent 12 years in federal land management. I know how to document incidents. I know how to build case files. I pulled out my phone and typed into notes. February 26, 3:18 p.m. Christine Devereaux threatened to tow the vehicle. 48-hour ultimatum. The stated reason is daughter needs parking. Then I checked my Ring doorbell footage. Perfect. Clear video of Christine delivering her speech. Clean audio. I saved it to Google Drive and added it to the folder I'd maintained since October. Here's what Christine didn't know. That Jeep doesn't belong to me. It's owned by the Bureau of Land Management, on loan under a 5-year vehicle use agreement for field work across Colorado. Christine had just threatened to tow a vehicle belonging to the United States government. Maya arrived home just after 5 p.m. She's a data analyst, works remotely, and thinks in spreadsheets. She stepped out with grocery bags, looked at my face, and knew immediately. "Christine," I nodded, "wants the Jeep gone in 48 hours. Madison needs the spot." Maya set the bags down. "What's the plan?" I walked to the filing cabinet and pulled out a dark green binder labeled HOA documentation. Inside were 18 months of emails, photos, and violation notices. Every interaction with Christine, all organized chronologically. "She's going to follow through," I said. "She always does." Maya looked at the binder, then at me. "So what do we do?" I met her eyes. "We let her tow it. We don't interfere." Understanding crossed her face. "The Jeep, it's federal property," I nodded. "The moment she touches it, this stops being about HOA bylaws." Maya sat down slowly. "And if she uses fake enforcement, I said quietly. Then it's a federal crime. She was quiet. This could get ugly. I sat across from her. It's already ugly. But if she crosses a federal line, the system handles it. Maya nodded. We need documentation from every angle. For the next 2 hours. We worked. Maya built a timeline spreadsheet. I checked every camera, Ring doorbell, garage camera, and the dash cam in the Jeep. Everything is recorded, backed up to 3 cloud locations. By 7:30 p.m., we were ready. We sat down for dinner. Through the window, I could see Christine's house down the street. Somewhere in there, she was probably calling her husband Gerald, who owned Devereaux Towing and Recovery. You think she'll actually do it? Maya asked. I thought about Christine's face that afternoon. The certainty when she gave the deadline. She'll do it. Nobody's pushed back hard enough to stop her. Maya nodded. And when they show up, I set down my fork. We stay calm. Document everything. Don't interfere. Maya reached across and took my hand. Promise me we don't become people who enjoy watching someone suffer. I squeezed her hand. This isn't about hurting Christine. It's about stopping her from hurting anyone else. We finished dinner in silence. Outside, streetlights flickered on. The clock was ticking. 48 hours. The 48 hours passed with the slow inevitability of a storm rolling in across the plains. Maya and I kept to our weekend routine. Grocery shopping, a hike at Castlewood Canyon, the usual suburban rhythms. But underneath it all, we were both waiting. Every car door that slammed, every set of footsteps on the sidewalk triggered that quiet spike of alertness, like animals sensing a predator downwind. Monday morning. I was up at 6 a.m. reviewing field reports when my phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Kensington, our 68-year-old neighbor. Saw Christine talking to a tow truck driver yesterday evening. Thought you should know. I showed the message to Maya over breakfast. She set down her coffee mug carefully, that analyst's brain already processing timelines and probabilities. It's happening. I nodded. Tonight or tomorrow night. She'll do it when everyone's asleep. Maya pulled up her laptop and opened the spreadsheet she'd been building. Cameras are all running. Cloud backup is automatic every 2 hours. AirTag is active. She looked up at me, and for just a moment I saw something flicker behind her eyes. Not doubt, exactly, but something closer to worry. You're sure about this? Really sure, because once they touch that Jeep, there's no walking this back. We can still move it right now. Park it at your office. Just end this. I thought about the Hendersons selling their truck at a loss after months of Christine's targeted harassment. I thought about Mr. Patterson, who'd moved out entirely last year after manufactured violations buried him in fines. I thought about Mrs. Kensington, who'd almost signed away her house at 20% below market value just to escape the constant pressure. I'm sure, I said. Maya held my gaze for another beat, then nodded once and closed her laptop. No more discussion needed. I worked from home on Monday. Conference calls with the BLM regional office about upcoming Roosevelt National Forest surveys. At 4:30 p.m., I stepped outside to check the mail and spotted Gerald Devereaux's black Ford F-250 parked in front of Christine's house. Gerald was 53, built like someone who'd spent decades doing manual labor, with graying hair and weathered hands. He owned Devereaux Towing and Recovery, a business he'd run for almost 20 years. He was loading something wrapped in a tarp into his truck bed when he noticed me watching. He paused mid-motion, then gave a quick nod before climbing in and driving off. Maya was at the window when I came back inside. Gerald, I confirmed. Getting ready. That evening passed in quiet preparation. Maya worked at the kitchen table while I reviewed our documentation one final time. At 9 p.m., she went upstairs to shower. Don't stay up all night, she said, kissing the top of my head. We need you sharp tomorrow. After she went to bed, I settled into the armchair by the front window with my laptop showing live feeds from our Ring cameras. The street was empty, lit only by evenly spaced streetlights casting yellow pools across the asphalt. No porch lights glowed. No curtains moved in neighboring windows. Oak Ridge Estates had gone to sleep. At 10:45 p.m., movement on the camera feed made my pulse jump. A vehicle crept down Maple Drive with its headlights off, pulling to a stop 30 feet from my driveway. Black Ford Explorer, the kind that could pass for an unmarked police vehicle in low light. 2 men got out. The first was younger, late 30s maybe, wearing what looked like a navy blue uniform shirt and cargo pants. Even in the grainy night vision footage, I could see something clipped to his belt that resembled a badge holder. The second man was older, heavier, and similarly dressed. They stood by the Explorer talking quietly for a moment. Then the younger one approached my Jeep, carrying a clipboard and a large envelope. I grabbed my phone and started recording through the window as he pulled a document from the envelope and pressed it against the driver's side window, smoothing out the edges with careful precision. He stepped back, photographed his work with his phone. Then both men returned to the Explorer and drove away without turning on their headlights until they reached the end of the block. I pulled on a jacket and went outside with my phone. The night air cold enough to turn my breath to vapor. The street was absolutely silent, not even the bark of a distant dog or the hum of a late-night television. I approached the Jeep and documented the notice from multiple angles, then studied it up close. Notice to tow, in bold letters across official-looking letterhead. This vehicle has been identified as abandoned per Colorado revised statutes and HOA authority. The vehicle will be removed within 2 hours, per municipal code enforcement. For questions, contact Oak Ridge Police Department. Signature line at the bottom, badge number, professional printing, proper formatting, and convincing language. It looked completely official until you remembered Oak Ridge didn't even have a police department. I photographed everything, went back inside, and uploaded it all to Google Drive before reviewing the ring footage one more time. Clear facial shots of both men. The Explorer's license plate. That fake badge on the younger man's belt. The careful, practiced way they'd done this suggested they'd done it before. I checked my watch. 10:53 p.m. The notice said 2 hours. They'd be back around 1 a.m. to actually tow the Jeep. I made a pot of coffee and settled back into my chair by the window. My hands were steady as I poured the first cup, my breathing calm and even. This was it. The moment Christine Devereaux crossed from harassment into something federal. The clock on my laptop glowed in the darkness. 12:03 a.m. Less than an hour now. Outside. Maple Drive remained empty and silent. Waiting. At 1:17 a.m. The tow truck appeared. Not the black Explorer this time, but a full-sized flatbed with Devereaux Towing and Recovery painted across the cab. It rolled down Maple Drive slowly and stopped in front of my house. Gerald Devereaux climbed out. The younger man from earlier emerged from the passenger side, his navy blue uniform shirt with its fake badge visible under the streetlights. I was recording on my phone through the window. Maya stood behind me, one hand on my shoulder. The younger man examined the fake notice on the Jeep's window, took a photo, then nodded to Gerald. The flatbed hydraulics hissed. The younger man pulled out a Slim Jim and popped the Jeep's lock in under 30 seconds. The winch cable rattled as it pulled the Jeep backward onto the flatbed. A light came on 2 houses down. Mr. Patel stepped out in his bathrobe. "What's going on?" The younger man touched the badge on his belt. "Vehicle enforcement, sir. Abandoned vehicle removal." Mr. Patel hesitated. "At 1 in the morning." The younger man's voice carried authority. "Please go back inside, sir." Mr. Patel retreated. The truck pulled away with my Jeep, turned at the corner, and disappeared. Maya's grip tightened. "It's done." I pulled up the Find My app. The AirTag was transmitting, a blue dot moving east. I called the county sheriff. The dispatcher answered immediately. I reported the theft, then added, "The vehicle is federal property, Bureau of Land Management." Long pause. "Sir, I'm dispatching a deputy immediately. Save all footage." 15 minutes later, red and blue lights lit up the street. Deputy Simmons came up the walk, notebook in hand. I opened the door wider. "Please come in. We have everything documented." Deputy Simmons stepped inside, eyes going to Maya's laptop, then to the binder in my hands. "You said this was federal property." I nodded and showed him the BLM loan agreement. He studied it carefully, took photos with his phone. "Walk me through what happened tonight." I gestured to the living room. "It's better if I show you." Maya pulled up the timeline on her laptop. Deputy Simmons sat forward as I started the footage from 10:45 p.m. "The Black Explorer is arriving." The 2 men posted the fake notice. "Pause there," he said. Maya froze the frame. He studied the man's uniform, zooming in on the badge. "That's designed to look like law enforcement insignia." I showed him photos of the fake tow notice. His jaw tightened. "Oak Ridge Police Department. We don't have a municipal police department." "I know," I said. He made notes. "This is impersonation of law enforcement. That's a felony." Maya played the next segment showing the actual tow. When Mr. Patel appeared and the younger man claimed to be code enforcement, Deputy Simmons shook his head. Witness intimidation using false authority. Another felony. He looked at me. You're certain about the identities Gerald Devereaux was driving? I nodded. Gerald owns Devereaux Towing, and his wife Christine is the HOA president who gave me the ultimatum to move the Jeep. Deputy Simmons's pen stopped. Your HOA president is married to the owner of the towing company. I spent 20 minutes walking him through everything. 18 months of harassment. The pattern. The other homeowners targeted. The binder with organized documentation. Deputy Simmons took steady notes. When I finished, he sat back and rubbed his face. Nearly 2:30 a.m. now. Maya looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes. Deputy Simmons accepted coffee and took a long drink. This isn't just vehicle theft. This is organized, premeditated. The fake notice, fake uniform, and coordination between the HOA president and her husband's towing company. He looked at me seriously, and the federal property element changes everything. I need to contact my sergeant, and he'll need to contact the Bureau of Land Management and probably the FBI. Maya's hand found mine. Her fingers were cold. The FBI, Deputy Simmons nodded. Theft of federal property involving impersonation of law enforcement falls under federal jurisdiction. He stood. I need copies of all this footage. While Maya transferred files, Deputy Simmons stepped outside to make calls. Through the window, I could see him pacing, phone pressed to his ear, breath forming clouds. He was on the phone for almost 15 minutes. When he came back inside, his expression had changed, more serious. My sergeant is contacting the BLM Regional Office emergency line right now. He looked at me. Do you know where your vehicle is? I showed him the Find My app. The blue dot in the industrial area. He took a photo of my screen. That's the industrial park off Highway 36, warehouses and storage facilities. He met my eyes. Don't go after that vehicle yourself. Don't try to recover it. This is now an active criminal investigation involving multiple felonies and federal property. Let us handle it. I nodded. I understand. He gathered his notes and paused at the door. His face was grim. Mr. Wells, I've been doing this job for 16 years. I've seen HOA disputes before. He gestured toward the binder and laptop. This isn't that. This is a conspiracy. Organized crime on a small scale. Fake law enforcement. Coordinated theft. What sounds like extortion against multiple residents. He shook his head. What I'm saying is, this is bigger than you think. When the federal government gets involved, things are going to move fast and hard. After he left, Maya and I sat in the kitchen in silence. The first hint of dawn was lighting the eastern sky. Maya leaned her head on my shoulder. Are you okay? I wrapped my arm around her. Yeah, you... She was quiet, tired, and worried, but I think we did the right thing. I kissed the top of her head. We did, but sitting there watching the blue dot on my phone, I couldn't stop thinking about Deputy Simmons's last words. This is bigger than you think. I'd known this would escalate, but I wondered if I'd fully understood what that meant. What it would look like when federal law enforcement started pulling on the threads I'd handed them. What else might they unravel? I didn't sleep. By the time the sun came up Tuesday morning, I'd been awake over 24 hours, but adrenaline kept me sharp. Maya finally went upstairs around 6 a.m. and crashed. I stayed at the kitchen table with my laptop, watching the blue dot on the Find My app. It hadn't moved since arriving at the industrial park. The Jeep was sitting somewhere in that cluster of warehouses, and I had a pretty good idea it wasn't just sitting there untouched. At 8:30 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Denver area code. Mr. Wells, this is Ellen Kramer, Asset Management Supervisor with the Bureau of Land Management Denver office. I understand there's been an incident involving one of our vehicles. Her voice was professional, clipped, the tone of someone who'd been briefed on a problem and wasn't happy about it. I spent 15 minutes walking her through everything. The HOA conflict, the fake notice, the tow, the footage I'd captured. When I finished, she said, Mr. Wells, I need you to send me everything you have. Every video, every photo, every piece of documentation. I started uploading files while we were still on the phone. I've been with BLM for 20 years, Ellen said. We've had vehicles damaged, vehicles in accidents, even vehicles stolen. But I've never had a contract officer report that a towing company used fake law enforcement to take one of our assets. That's a federal crime, Mr. Wells. Multiple federal crimes. She was quiet for a moment. The county sheriff contacted us at 3 a.m. They've opened an investigation, but given the federal property involvement and the impersonation aspect, I'm escalating this to our Office of Law Enforcement and Security. They'll coordinate with the FBI if necessary. My pulse quickened. FBI. Ellen's voice was firm. Someone impersonated law enforcement to steal government property. That's FBI jurisdiction, whether we like it or not. After the call ended, I sat back and rubbed my eyes. Maya came downstairs around 9 a.m., showered but still looking tired. Any movement? I shook her head and showed her the Find My app. The blue dot was still stationary. She poured coffee and sat beside me. What happens now? I told her about Ellen's call. Maya processed that in silence, then said quietly, "The FBI. Jesus." Garrett, at 10:15 a.m., Deputy Simmons called. "We've located the address where your vehicle is being held. Commercial garage leased by Devereaux Towing. Your Jeep is visible inside through the bay windows." My stomach tightened. What's happening to it? There was a pause. From what we could see, they're removing parts. Wheels are off. Hood is open. I closed my eyes. A chop shop. They were dismantling a federal vehicle. "We're working on getting a warrant," Deputy Simmons continued. "Given the federal involvement, it's moving faster than usual. We should have it by this afternoon." He paused. "We ran backgrounds on the two men from your video. The younger one is Derek Hayes, 38. He has a prior assault conviction. And the impersonation," Deputy Simmons's voice was grim. "Under Colorado law, convicted felons can't work in any enforcement capacity, even private security. Christine Devereaux would have known about his record." At 11:40 a.m., another call. The caller ID said FBI Denver. "Mr. Wells, this is Special Agent Marcus Ford, FBI Public Corruption Unit. I've been reviewing the case. I'd like to meet with you this afternoon to discuss what you've documented. Can you come to our field office at 2 p.m.? Maya drove me to the FBI field office in downtown Denver. The building was nondescript, glass and concrete. We went through security, surrendered our phones, and were escorted to a conference room on the 4th floor. Agent Ford was waiting. He was 45, maybe, with graying hair and sharp eyes. With him was Agent Sarah Chen, 30s, professional, stillness. For the next hour, I walked them through everything. They asked detailed questions about Christine's pattern, about other homeowners, about Gerald's business. Agent Ford pulled up a map. "You said Mrs. Kensington almost sold her house to an LLC owned by Christine Devereaux." I nodded. "Devereaux Holdings LLC, 20% below market value." Agent Chen made notes. "How many other properties has this LLC purchased?" I showed them Maya's research. 3 in the last 2 years, all from homeowners heavily cited by Christine. Agent Ford and Agent Chen exchanged a glance. Agent Ford leaned forward. "What you're describing is extortion. HOA president harasses homeowners, pressures them to sell, then purchases through a shell company at below market rates." He pulled up financial records and turned his laptop toward me. "We pulled preliminary records this morning. Christine and Gerald Devereaux own it jointly. They've acquired 4 properties in 24 months. Total investment $1.2 million. Current market value approximately $1.8 million. That's $600,000 profit from a scheme involving official oppression and fraud." Agent Chen spoke up. "And the vehicle theft with fake law enforcement was just the latest escalation." Agent Ford closed his laptop. "We're opening a formal investigation into Christine and Gerald Devereaux. Theft of federal property, impersonation, conspiracy, and potentially broader extortion." He paused. "This is going to take time. Weeks, maybe months. We'll need your cooperation as a witness." I nodded. "You have it." He slid a business card across the table. "Don't contact Christine Devereaux. Don't confront her. Don't tell anyone about this investigation. The more people who know, the more likely she gets tipped off." I took the card. "Understood." Agent Ford stood and extended his hand. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. A lot of people would have just moved their car." I shook his hand. "A lot of people did let it go. That's why she kept doing it." As Maya and I drove home, I felt something shift. This wasn't just about my Jeep anymore. The FBI was building a case that could take down an entire scheme, and I was right in the middle of it. Wednesday morning, I woke up to a text from Deputy Simmons sent at 6 a.m. "Warrant executed. Vehicle recovered. Call when you're up." I was dialing before I'd even made coffee. He answered on the first ring. "Mr. Wells, we hit the garage at 5:30 this morning. Your Jeep is in county impound now, being processed as evidence. Relief washed over me, but it was tempered by his next words. I won't lie to you. It's in rough shape. They'd removed all 4 wheels, the battery, and most of the engine components. This wasn't just a tow. This was systematic dismantling. I closed my eyes. Did you arrest anyone? There was satisfaction in his voice. Gerald Devereaux and Derek Hayes were both on site when we arrived. They're in custody now, being processed downtown. Derek tried to run. That didn't go well for him. He paused. The district attorney is coordinating with the FBI on charges. This is moving fast. Mr. Wells, faster than most cases I've worked. After we hung up, I told Maya. She sat down heavily at the kitchen table. So it's really happening. They're actually being charged. I nodded. It's really happening. The rest of Wednesday passed in a strange, suspended quiet. I worked from home, trying to focus on field reports and survey data, but my mind kept drifting. Somewhere downtown, Gerald and Derek were being questioned. Somewhere in a federal building, Agent Ford and his team were building their case. And somewhere 3 houses down, Christine Devereaux was probably realizing her husband hadn't come home last night at 4 p.m. My phone rang. Agent Ford. Mr. Wells, I wanted to update you. We arrested Gerald Devereaux and Derek Hayes this morning on federal charges, theft of government property, conspiracy, and, for Derek, impersonation of a federal officer. What about Christine? I asked. Agent Ford was quiet for a moment. We're still building the case on her involvement. Gerald and Derek aren't talking yet, but we have the text messages between Christine and Gerald from the night before the tow. We have the pattern of harassment you documented. We're working on it. He paused. In the meantime, I need to ask you something. Your HOA has monthly meetings. Correct, I confirmed. Next one is scheduled for next Wednesday, 7 p.m. at the community center. Agent Ford's voice was measured. I'd like you to request time to speak at that meeting. Present what happened. Show the evidence publicly, not all of it, just enough to make the case clear to your neighbors. My pulse quickened. You want me to expose her in front of the community? He chose his words carefully. I want the community to understand what's been happening. We're going to arrest Christine. Mr. Wells, probably within the next week. But when we do, there's going to be confusion, maybe even sympathy for her. People don't like to believe their HOA president is a criminal. He let that sink in. But if they've seen the evidence first, if they understand the pattern, the fake cops, the property scheme, then when we make the arrest, it makes sense. It's not the government overreaching, it's justice. I thought about Mrs. Kensington, about the Hendersons, about Mr. Patterson, who'd left entirely. I'll do it. Agent Ford's approval was evident. Good. We'll coordinate timing. I may attend the meeting myself, in an unofficial capacity, just to observe. After that call, I spent the evening reviewing everything I'd documented. Maya helped me build a presentation. Nothing too technical, just clear facts with timestamps and video clips. Thursday and Friday passed in preparation. I requested speaking time at the HOA meeting through the official channels. The secretary, a woman named Helen who'd always been Christine's ally, sent back a terse email. Board President Devereaux has approved 5 minutes for resident concerns. 5 minutes. I'd make them count. On Friday afternoon, Mrs. Kensington knocked on my door. She looked worried. Garrett, I heard Gerald was arrested. Is that true? Word was already spreading. I invited her in and told her what I could without violating Agent Ford's instructions. Her hand went to her mouth when I explained about the fake cops, about the chop shop. Oh my God. I knew Christine was difficult, but this is... She trailed off. Then she looked at me with something like hope. You're going to stop her, aren't you? I met her eyes. I'm going to try. Saturday and Sunday. The neighborhood felt different, quieter. Christine's house had all its curtains drawn. I saw her once, getting mail, and she looked haggard, older. She saw me watching and hurried back inside. Gerald was out on bail. I learned from Deputy Simmons, but under strict conditions. No contact with witnesses, no leaving the county. Ankle monitor. Monday morning. I got an email from Agent Ford. We're ready. Present your evidence on Wednesday night. We'll be watching. Tuesday. I did a final run-through of the presentation with Maya. She'd organized everything perfectly. Each video clip labeled and cued, each timeline clear. You're going to do great, she said, but I could see the worry in her eyes. What if people don't believe it? What if they think I'm overreacting? Maya took my hand. You have video of fake cops stealing a federal vehicle. You have financial records of a property scheme. You're not overreacting. You're telling the truth. Wednesday morning arrived cold and clear. I spent the day trying to work, trying not to watch the clock. At 6 p.m., Maya and I drove to the Oak Ridge Estates Community Center. The parking lot was fuller than usual. Word had gotten out that something was happening. As we walked to the entrance, I saw Agent Ford's car parked in the back corner. He'd come, as promised, inside. The meeting room was packed. 60 people, maybe. More than I'd ever seen at an HOA meeting. Christine sat at the front table with the other board members, her face carefully neutral. But when our eyes met across the room, I saw something flicker there. Fear, maybe, or calculation. The meeting started at 7 p.m. sharp. Routine business first. Budget reports, landscaping contracts. I sat in the third row, laptop ready, Maya beside me. Finally, Christine looked at her agenda. We have one resident request for speaking time. Mr. Garrett Wells has requested 5 minutes to address the board. She looked directly at me, and her voice was ice. Mr. Wells, you have the floor. I stood up, walked to the front, and connected my laptop to the projector. The screen lit up behind me, and I began. The projector screen glowed behind me as I faced the packed community center. 60 pairs of eyes watched. Christine sat rigid at the board table, clipboard clutched to her chest like a shield. I clicked on the first slide. Timeline pattern of harassment, dates, incidents, and documentation spanning 18 months. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I showed the video from Saturday afternoon. Christine was approaching my driveway, delivering her ultimatum. 48 hours to remove this vehicle, or it will be subject to towing at the owner's expense. Next slide. The fake notice was posted at 10:45 p.m. on Monday. Clear footage of Derek Hayes in his Navy uniform. Fake badge on his belt, pressing the fraudulent document against my Jeep's window. Someone in the audience gasped. I let the video play. Derek and the older man are talking quietly. Then Derek photographs his work. Notice the uniform, I said calmly. Notice the badge. Notice the official-looking document claiming to be from Oak Ridge Police Department. I paused. We don't have an Oak Ridge Police Department. The room went completely silent. Next slide. The actual tow at 1:17 a.m. Gerald Devereaux is operating the flatbed. Derek is using the Slim Jim to break into the Jeep. The winch pulls it onto the truck. I let them watch. Let them see their HOA president's husband stealing a vehicle in the middle of the night. Then I showed Mr. Patel's brief appearance. Derek's response. Vehicle enforcement, sir. Nothing to be concerned about. I stopped the video. Impersonation of law enforcement. That's a federal crime. Christine stood abruptly. This is slander. I had nothing to do with any of this. My husband runs his own business. I don't control what he does. Her voice was shaking now. Rage barely contained. I clicked to the next slide without responding. Text messages. Christine to Gerald. The night before the tow. Need the Jeep gone by tomorrow. Madison is arriving on Friday. Gerald's response. What if he complains? Christine's reply. Make it look official. Have your guys wear something that looks like police. Nobody will question it. The room erupted. People shouting questions. Christine yelling denials. Board members trying to restore order. I raised my voice over the chaos. There's one more thing you need to know. Final slide. The property acquisition scheme. Map of Oak Ridge Estates with 4 houses highlighted. Purchase prices versus market values. Devereaux Holdings, LLC. Total profit $600,000. Ms. Devereaux has been using her position to harass homeowners until they sell at below market rates. Then she buys their properties through a shell company. I looked directly at Christine. This isn't about a parking space. This is about organized extortion. Christine's face had gone white. You have no right. You're twisting everything. That vehicle was an eyesore and you refused to comply with community standards, and I was just trying to maintain property values for everyone, and Madison needed somewhere to park when she visited. And it's not my fault if people decided to sell their homes and move, and Gerald runs a legitimate business, and Derek was just doing his job, and this is all a misunderstanding, and I'm going to sue you for defamation, and you'll regret this, and... The back door opened. Agent Ford walked in. Badge clipped to his belt. Behind him, Agent Chen and 2 uniformed officers. The room fell silent again. Agent Ford's voice was calm and official. Christine Devereaux, I'm Special Agent Marcus Ford with the FBI. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit theft of federal property, wire fraud, and extortion under color of official right. Christine's legs seemed to give out. She sat down hard in her chair. No, this isn't happening. Agent Chen stepped forward with handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. As they led Christine out, still protesting, still denying, the community center remained frozen in shock. I closed my laptop and sat down beside Maya. Her hand found mine, trembling slightly. Around us, people were whispering, processing, trying to understand how the woman who'd run their HOA for 5 years had been running a criminal enterprise the entire time. Mr. Patel came over to me, face serious. Thank you for not letting this go, for documenting everything, for having the courage to stand up. Others approached. Mrs. Kensington, with tears in her eyes. The Hendersons said they wished they'd fought back, too. 6 weeks later, the legal outcomes were clear. Christine Devereaux pleaded guilty to conspiracy and extortion, was sentenced to 30 months in federal prison, plus 2 years supervised release and full restitution to affected homeowners. Gerald received 36 months for his role in the theft and chop shop operation. Derek Hayes got 24 months for impersonation and cooperating with investigators. Madison was not charged, but completed 300 hours of community service as part of her mother's plea agreement. Devereaux Holdings LLC was dissolved, properties sold, and proceeds distributed. The Oak Ridge Estates HOA held a special election. Mr. Leonard Davis became the new president on a platform of transparency and accountability. New bylaws were implemented. No more arbitrary enforcement. No more conflicts of interest. My Jeep was repaired by the Bureau of Land Management and returned to service. And Maya and I stayed in our house on Maple Drive. Because sometimes you don't run from bullies. Sometimes you stand your ground. Document everything, and let the system do what it's designed to do. Restore balance. Deliver justice. Prove that no one, not even someone with a clipboard and a title, is above the law. If this story resonated with you, if you believe in standing up to abuse of power and documenting the truth, support Karma Clause. We share real stories of justice, accountability, and everyday people who refuse to be pushed around. Because sometimes karma needs a little help, and sometimes that help comes from someone who simply refuses to look away. Subscribe, share, and let's keep holding the line together.